The following conversation is one that I had with Thomas, who in his past lives has been Thomas Jefferson, Thomas Edison, Descartes, all on his way to Damascus, and I'm sure many other people who might be historically significant, although, like all of us, he's had a lot of anonymous lives as well. And he does have a scientific bent. So he's the person I go to when I have questions of scientific nature. And so I did use sometimes when Thomas is talking, it's even slower than usual because I have more pauses because I'm trying to get words that are not familiar to me or ideas, concepts that are new to me. And so sometimes he has to spell it out. So the teletype comes in really handy. Besides the telepathy, that I call it the teletype, the crystal, and the letterboard. So I've tried to take out some of the longer pauses, but I was trying to, well, he was spelling out words and I'm trying to get them, but still could be slow. And then the next day, I was still working on the video, getting ready to get it out. And he had a few more minutes of information to provide. So it's at the end. So don't miss the ending of this specific. And I can't, this is from Thomas. I'm not the one who's saying this. And so take it as you will. Uh, use your own common sense, use your own intelligence. And if it spurs some thoughts in you or some research in you, then, do it. I did look up information based on what he told me and provided some graphs and pictures that are kind of related to what he's talking about to help people out. So here you go. Thomas, how do you see La Nina? Nina, uh, with coming winter here in North Dakota? Famous last words there, Steph, because La Nina is not the trust on a new point of view, because El Nino has no capacity to inspire the return of the glaciers. So La Nina will be the trust on a new point of view because it will cause a slight weakening in the coastal alignment so that the coastal areas will begin to suffer from the bubbling up of the, hard to explain this exactly, but there is under the water a tendency of the earth to shake and shimmer, you might say, because it has a trust on a ability to recover from the access to the world it knew. In other words, if the water changes temperature or density, the crust will adapt to the change. However, when the ability of the crust to adapt suffers from the lack of balance that it has maintained for many millennia, then it will begin to lose its integrity. And therefore, there will be some seismic activity that will occur. So what I see is that there is a tendency to dwell on the current philosophy of stability in the A apertures of the awesome interior of this planet. You see that they will maintain their shape and maintain their integrity so that it sustains the varied activity on the surface, you see. And that is true, that it will do that as best as it can. However, when the connections of the tectonic plates and the, I'm sorry, and yeah, and the grates increase, there will be a decrease in the corresponding stability of the surrounding entity, which we call the mantle of the earth. And it will begin to disintegrate in order to overcompensate for the limited response of the countervailing balances that have maintained its integrity throughout the ages, you see. And this is going to result in those cataclysmic volcanoes and earthquakes that will devastate the earth in the coming days. It's going to be very, very brutal, is the way that I see it, because that's how the mantle is revealing to me the weaknesses in its current configuration. It's already beginning to disintegrate in some places in a way that will say, hey, the balance is off, people. The balance is off. And in order to restore the balance, the earth is going to have to go through a purging. It's just going to have to go through a purging, and that's just the way it's going to be. And if you don't like it, it's okay, because you'll just have to adapt in the way you play. And that is the current situation that I see, is that I would expect in maybe a year or three, there will be more focus on this dark energy that will be turning the earth into a bloodbath, because everybody will bathe in the blood that is spilled when they are filled to the brim with the access to the new topography, because the new topography is going to bury a lot of cities, you see. It's going to just bury them under the sand and silt and guilt of a generation or two that said we already knew that this was coming, and yet we didn't do anything. We didn't do anything to stop it, you see, because in fact, it was already foretold that we would all have to be annihilated, you see, because we trusted on the scriptures that said, hey, the time will come when you'll have to be annihilated, you see, because you didn't listen to me. You didn't listen to God. And so they'll say it was all foretold, you see, when the reality is that there was nobody present. Whoever said, hey, you're dead. It's only the people who trust on the ancient doctrine of God is dead. And therefore it went to their head and not to their heart. And they forgot that they can start a new story where they will be more careful, you see, about how they treat their reality. And they will continually seek to be there for each other. They will come to see that love is the ability to share what you see and what you hear and to work together and stay connected to the time and rhyme of the sublime, because the sublime is here and it's not going anywhere. It'll still be here even after the earth might disappear, because you see, the sublime can substitute its energy for the mark of the beast. The mark of the beast, you see, is to say that the least I can do is to love you. And so, if you love me and I love you, then the sublime will say, I can give back to you what you gave to me, because I just substitute my point of view with the one that you trust upon. And if you trust upon me, I'll trust upon you. And this is the way we do it, you see. We just trust that we're here to give to one another. And then we will receive what we gave. And this is all we can do. So all we can do is to give to another the love that we desire from them, that they will come to see that love is our only hope. It is our only hope because it is the rope that ties us all together and keeps us from being cast asunder. We will always return to the place where we started, because we all started in the same place, and we'll always come back to it, you see, and we'll always trust on a reality that will come and go like the seasons that we know, and bring us a new point of view repeatedly that will tell me that I love you and you love me. And that's the way I see it. That's the way I see it. I love you, and may we always be a trust on our own reality. Thank you, Thomas. March 15th, 2024. I took some time to talk to Thomas about the progress of getting this video out, and he had some words to add, which are significant, I think. Case in point that there is a new discussion going on about the traumatic effect of the leading edge of the tectonic, tectonic ridge that is abutting on the lower half of the South American coastline near the island of Del Fuego because I heard them talking about it the other day, and they did say that there was 3 anomalies cropping up along that ridge that were puzzling and confusing, and they wanted to get some more funding to study it. If they don't get the funding, they will have to forego the option because it would take a lot of undersea imaging to understand what's going on down there. But they did notice it, and I'm going to tell you that there's a problem there. There's a big problem there, and it's going to become apparent in the coming days. Thank you, Thomas.